In my last video, I spent my entire Christmas holiday sculpting the great old one himself, Cthulhu, and since I had so much fun putting my spin onto one of HP Lovecraft's monsters, instead of spending time with my family, I thought I'd make another one, but had a bit of a tough time deciding just which eldritch entity to make next. Enter Nyarlathotep, or at least I think that's how you should say it, who, if you're like most people and have never heard of, is basically a scary space monster with a tentacle for a head, a big mouth, a few arms, and even more tentacles for legs. Now I know that concept sounds more like a SpongeBob SquarePants reject than a thing of nightmares, but I'm gonna still try and see if I can make something cool out of this. Starting with the head, or upper tentacle, which I made with the skeleton of wire and tinfoil wrapped in a thin layer of my favourite clay, Fimo. Now I haven't always been the biggest fan of using wire in builds, but it's kind of grown on me, like a cosmic fungus. But it was quite annoying trying to carve out the mouth, because the wire would constantly get in the way, and I ended up snipping it to make the mouth a bit deeper. The first step I took in trying to make this monster a bit more menacing was to carve lines into the body to kind of look like the segments of a centipede, because personally, I find centipedes with their hundreds of legs that move lightning fast that could be scuttling around in the corners of your room as we speak, ever so slightly scarier than some deep sea cephalopod. Once I was done shaping and blending and covering up any fingerprints, so no one will ever know who made this, I realised that, while segmented centipedes may look kind of freaky, they're not that scary if they can't bite, so I came up with a cool and easy new method of making teeth. With the teeth in place, I could finally call the head done, and what's that? I forgot to add any texture. Well, too bad, we're already moving on. For the arms, I used a combination of thick and thin wire to make sure that these things wouldn't snap off if, say, I don't know, you accidentally knock your sculpture that you spend months of your life working on right over the edge of your painting desk and right onto the floor, where it smashes into a gazillion little pieces that you'll never find again. But I don't think anyone could be careless enough to let that happen, right? Anyway, I made these arms segmented like the Head-tacle, and even gave them some elbow spikes for jabbing you. But I probably should have done all this stuff after working on the hands, because the arm detail got completely smooshed, and I ended up redoing it a bunch of times. I couldn't call the arms done quite yet, because there's still something missing. How about adding some weird knuckle detail like I did on Cthulhu? Yeah, those spikes should do the job nicely. With the arms baked, I decided to stick them right into Nyarlathotep's mouth, because I thought it'd be a cool way to make my design unique. And now, all that's left on the Nyarlathotep checklist is to make even more tentacles. And I found a really easy way of making tentacles. All you need to do is to smash that like and subscribe button and they'll just magically appear. Oh, that actually worked, but the next step only requires one tentacle to demonstrate the technique. Now this next step requires a lot of patience, but if you stick with it, I think you'll end up with a pretty cool result. If you've seen my The Thing video, you'll already be familiar with this technique. But if you haven't seen that one, I'm basically just carving tons of lines around the tentacle to make it look kind of like an earthworm texture. As you can imagine, this process gets a little bit repetitive after a while, but as long as the end product is cool, I think it's worth it. But before I show you that end product, since this tentacle is too short to be on the actual build, I'm gonna remove all the clay with even more clay, which somehow works. With the actual tentacles done, all that's left is to assemble and take a look at